to today in our podcast. I am super excited. We have a special guest today. But what Trinity Podcast is all about is helping Americans understand and master real estate investing, business and personal credit, and the money matrix, how each one affects you, and how to leverage your Trinity wealth. Today we have Miss Mary Nicholson. This is actually Stroke Awareness Month, and we couldn't wait to get her on this call to really speak to stroke victims and what that looks like today, and the economy, and how COVID may have affected, and baby boomers. And we're going to dive into so much stuff that is so very, very relevant. And so I am here with the other host, Miss Joanna Wright, and she is the real estate wealth maven. And I'm Becky Eastup Noble, the credit coach queen. And thanks for joining us, Miss Mary.
It's a pleasure being here.
Super. Yeah, definitely so excited to have you here. We've known each other from a couple of different areas in the San Joaquin, California area. And what really stands out to me is your drive. And I'm like, if we don't get Mary, I was telling Becky, if we don't get Mary on this podcast, I'm just gonna lose it, because you have so much energy, so much love for what you do. And I just want to tell the world about it and why it's so super important. So, Mary, why don't you just tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do, and then we'll get into a little bit of Q&A for you.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure seeing you both. Professionally, I had been in broadcasting for over 25 years and moved to San Joaquin County as a newlywed. But before I could actually relocate here, my husband was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. So to say the least, I was pretty shocked and had to serve as his caregiver. And then as devastating as that was, shortly after he passed away, I had a brain aneurysm myself, which is a bleed. And I had an ischemic stroke, which is a blockage on the operating table. Mm-hmm. So at the time, the doctor thought that I would be a vegetable at best. But as a fighter, I said, if I survive this, I'm going to change some things. And that's what I've been really driven to do. It's almost like having the gift of a second life, to experience new things and to also help others in my journey.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. And some people that are given a second chance really don't have that drive, that energy, or know the knowledge of what they should be doing. And like, I super applaud you for pulling together after such a strenuous, devastating, losing your husband and then having your own stroke, and really having to come to Jesus moment, right? Like, I'm either do this or not, like, take me now or let me make a difference. So I thought that's very powerful. And why don't you tell the reason we have, let me just dive in a little bit about the reason we have Mary on here. Stroke awareness is super powerful. And so many people don't know the signs. So many people don't know the signs. And Mary has been a huge advocate for helping people become aware of this through Healings in Motion. It's an educational platform. People can learn from those who had a stroke. Is that correct, Mary?
Absolutely. The whole journey is, I don't want people to become a stroke victim. Mm-hmm. I really applaud those who are stroke survivors and have an opportunity to fight for recovery. But I do want to say something that you said. You said something about a Jesus moment.
Yes.
Well, I was one of the people who went on Let's Make a Deal, and I have been making deals pretty much all my life. And so while I was on the NICU, it's like I made a deal. You save me and I'll do this, so that's kind of what this trilogy is all about, talking about how we make deals in our life. We are given choices. And as you mentioned, some people decide to just sit and fester in just being and watching other people live rather than be a part and amongst the living. And that's, for me, an opportunity to be and be present and live.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love your soul in that regard too, because so many people, you do have a choice. You have a choice to be victim, and blame, or you have a choice to make a difference, and you chose to make a difference.
Absolutely.
Very powerful. And why it's so important here on the Trinity podcast, because we're all about creating your own economic independence. None of that matters if you don't have your health. None of that matters if you don't have your health. So if you have your wealth, you can subsidize your health. And if you have your health, you could really make that wealth happen for yourself. So the two go hand in hand. And
what is good is that what you're talking about is a process. So is healing. It doesn't just happen overnight. And so it takes, if you take baby steps, if you take steps to channel that energy for change and for progress. And I feel that energy from you, from both of you. You're not saying that it's a miracle that just occurs all of a sudden, and I'm not saying that healing is going to happen all of a sudden. It's a process, and that's why the name Healings in Motion came into being, because as you start doing things in whatever capacity that you're at, if you're moving in the right direction, something will happen. Things will happen along the way.
Yeah, we call this the compound effect, right, Beck?
Absolutely. And I totally have a question for you, Miss Mary. So you lost your husband, and then you had a stroke, and then God blessed you, and then what did you do with your blessing? Like, where did you go from there?
Well, the one thing that I wanted was to also make sure that other people had an opportunity to survive. And so the best thing that I could do was to work with the hospitals and get the hospitals to be accountable, to help other people and make sure that there are eyes that are watching here. We care. We want you to do what you need to do to be trained to respond better and get better results at the end of the day, and that lives mattered. And also on the end of recovery, which is the journey that we're on right now with Healings in Motion, we're more focused on the recovery end of the journey. We've got the hospitals in place for them now as primary stroke centers. There's the primary stroke centers and the comprehensive stroke centers, but
that didn't exist prior to you, right?
Not in this area, in the Central Valley, right? Not in San Joaquin County or Stanislaus County, where in my mind, there's so many gifts that are happening here. This is an area, an agricultural area, where a lot of the food that people are eating all throughout America and in many other places, it comes from, and so, but people didn't really give that a real thought. And so I do want to reiterate that Healings in Motion is not a medical organization. It's completely educational. We work with the medical community to support their programs, and recovery is a major component of it. Our goal is to help people and give people hope, so that and be in an I can for sure work towards healing if they don't, if they're not stagnant and feeling like life is over, because it doesn't have to be.
Absolutely, absolutely. And kind of tying this back to real estate. Because everything I the reason I'm so passionate about real estate investing is because everyone has something to do with real estate. You're living in it. You're either paying a mortgage or you're getting a mortgage paid for you, right? So, can you tell me how you were able to transform now that you've been given this second chance, right? Um, and now you have to keep your promise. How did you afford to do this?
Well, first of all, land is wonderful, uh, but the biggest real estate is you.
That's true.
Um, so it intertwines. But for me, um, I had a home, and had I not been able to navigate through, my equity in my home, I would not have been able to pay for some of the extended care that I needed. Now, mind you, well, when the neurologist said, oh, if she survives this, she's going to be a vegetable at best. And I was frozen on my left side. I couldn't move on the left side. And the doctors thought, oh, well, she's like this. She's functional. And I was like,
Mm.
who wants to function like this? you know? So I had to do some non-traditional things, and I was about fighting for my life. So I tried a little bit of this, a little bit of that, Reiki, and all kinds of things that cost money, but I wouldn't have been able to do it without having real estate to be able to utilize the equity in it. And through that, I was able to start Healings in Motion. And I have been able to reach out to help other people in that capacity.
That is so beautiful. And one of the many reasons our hearts connect is that same similar story is how I got into real estate investing. It was my landlord. When I bought my first property in my early 20s, my landlord had had a stroke, and she had been living off of her real estate. And her daughter came to my door and said, we need to sell off some of her inventory. And I was so green, Mary, that I didn't even know you can own more than one house. That's how young and naive I was. And once my friend walked me through it, I said, you did this and you made how much? And can you teach me? Like, that's all I needed to know. And I've been in real estate ever since, and in multiple capacities, because I saw the power in real estate. And what it did for my landlord was help subsidize her long-term care to recover from her stroke, which is pretty much the same story as yours. Real estate was able to subsidize, what you needed to get the best care, because I believe what we're provided right now with Medi-Cal and whatnot, it's just not enough. It's just not enough. And what is out there in even the private primary care facilities out there is just super, super expensive. And with, you know, regard to that, it's mandatory to charge that because they have so much that needs to be covered in order to give you that kind of care. So I get it, but who can afford it is the next story. And that's why real estate really plays a role in my life and how I even got started in real estate investing. I just saw the power of real estate, and I hear these stories all the time. And yours is just so powerful, Mary, and how real estate really paid a. What if you didn't have it, right? What if you didn't have the equity in your home? Would you still be with that left side not working because you didn't have the extra funds to pay for, the Reiki, the extra speech therapy, the extra, all of those things? I mean, that's really hard to feel and imagine. We
Well,
should all
also,
have.
I wouldn't have had the comfort of being at home. Right now, um, there are, for example, 893,000 people had a stroke last year.
Oh my goodness.
Now, because of the pandemic, many of those people had to be sent home early. They couldn't stay in the hospital like they normally. And then there's so much that goes into recovery. Not only the patient and their caregivers, our personal care attendant, you have the physicians, the nurses, the occupational therapists, the speech pathologist, the psychologist, social worker. All of that is part of the recovery package, just genetically, just generically. Those are the things that you'd have to deal with. And then you have all these other factors that come into play, whether it's dealing with isolation, depression, reduced functionality. There's so much that goes into stroke, and now stroke is happening to people at a much younger age. And 50% of the people who have had a stroke under 65 never go back to work.
Oh,
Did you know that?
I didn't know that.
Right.
That's really damaging. So I speak a lot about how real estate gives me the cash that I need. Like, what if I couldn't be in front of this camera, right? Because like you said, your whole left side was not really operating. It's going to be difficult to do my coaching and videos and stuff like that if something like that happens to me. So I do have to have that a lot of entrepreneurs rely on, well, I'll just, coaching's easy. I could just, do this for the rest of my life. I don't need a retirement plan. I don't need extra. But what if you couldn't, right? Like, where's that cash going to come from? And that equity is what Mary's talking about that really saved her. Becky,
Exactly. Exactly. I was really blessed, but now that I look at where I was, and I lived a pretty jazzy life in media in LA, expense account and taking client, all kinds of stuff. I had it going on, and I owned a radio station in Sacramento on this journey. And then my life changed suddenly. I mean, I was totally dependent on other people. I had to be bathed, held up like a baby to be bathed by somebody else to care for me. Same thing with my husband. He at a point, he was a really wonderful, strong muscle guy who just, shrunk down to be very small. And, you don't think about that. And he was 46 when he passed away.
Oh my God, that's so young.
Yeah, life was good. We were so romantic and everything was going great. And then it all stopped. Right?
Yeah.
And so having things put in place is really very valuable. Not only that, but also making sure that how you want it administered is very, very important. Who's in your corner? Who's going to take care of you? Who's going to make those decisions for you with your real estate, or however it is, make sure that you have that ironclad and written out, in your trust or things like that put in place. And that's why I started a new business called Caregivers for a Graying America.
I love that. I love that. I love the segue into that. I first wanted to ask you real quick about your Aunt Mary. Or
sure.
Aunt. Sorry, Mary.
Sure.
Mary's aunt here.
Yeah, I have the oldest person in my family right now is 94 years old, and she has had a pretty large family, 9 children, and they are all doing well. Professional people, even one's a cardiologist, a school principal, and so on. But she's had her children, she told her children that she never wanted to live in a nursing home, right? And 2 months ago, she had a brain aneurysm. So now she's in a hospital in LA. And, you know, these particular cousins were the ones who never wanted to share anything with anybody in terms of just, I mean, for them, it was always the fastest car, who's got this and that. But now they are becoming more humble and saying, hey, we need help now. You know, we're at that point, we have exhausted everything, but we made a promise to mom, you know, help
Yeah.
out. We need the family to pitch in, all the family to pitch in. And even it is still pre-planning, having the real estate and having equity that you can use to help offset kinds of things like that, because we are all aging. And my cousins, we're all in the same age group. We are baby boomers. We're the new seniors, believe it or not. I can't believe it.
Isn't that crazy? Time flies, huh?
I know, but the elderly now are living longer, but they're living longer sicker. Baby boomers now are, you know, it's a different kind of generation where we are still into living, but many are retired and living and making new decisions about life, but still forget to plan for the days when they can't make the decisions for themselves. And so with that being said, where I am, where my cousins are right now, we're all going to have to be there. If we live long enough, decisions are going to have to be made. And now is the time for the process to be put in place. And real estate is a wonderful way to do that right now, to
Absolutely.
integrate
Yeah.
into what we're doing.
So this is how important your new company is, Caregivers for Graying America. And your whole story from beginning of, getting that second chance to Healings in Motion, getting the education out there, and now seeing as a, you know, getting into the senior bucket, right? Like, how did that happen so soon? And knowing that you're going to have to be that educator that educates the millennials that now take care of graying America. Did I get that right?
Exactly. The millennials are my target.
Yeah.
You know, you remember I said my aunt has a large family, 9 children. Well, we used to say that, oh, we love big families, but then all of a sudden, the families got a lot smaller. And now in my age group, a lot of my friends, if they had 2, that was big.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
Yeah.
a lot of people don't have any children, and so now you have to make plans for your care.
Mm-hmm.
How is that going to happen if in fact there are fewer people serving as caregivers? There's not enough professional caregivers. There's not enough family caregivers to take care of the baby boomers. So how many people are going to be there to take care of the millennials? This has got to be
Good
something
point.
dealt with right now.
Wow. Mic drop.
I know, right? I was totally thinking that. I was like, oh, you're so right. And
Yes.
everything that she's speaking about is totally relevant to my life right now. Both of my parents, I'm having to figure things out for them right now. And they're not even like, I mean, there's stuff going on. So, I can't wait to dive into some of your material, Miss Mary, and see if there's some space that could actually help me with some of the things that I'm addressing currently.
Right. And my daughter is the same way. Now, most of my friends no longer have parents. It's a minute number of people in my age group who still have their parents. We've had to make some tough decisions along the way. And now people your age are having to deal with those decisions with families, with parents. If you're lucky to have those parents now, but this is a time where education and decisions have to be made. Unfortunately, people don't want to face it. And the best way to do it is to delve deeper into how real estate can help with planning the future.
Absolutely, absolutely. And knowing that, I teach how to retire early through real estate investing. I build out a plan so they get the cash flow that they need to live their life, regardless of any job or anything like that. Um, what is super important in adding into that, because some people get into real estate and they just go, oh well, I just need this much, like $5,000 a month, right? I'm like going, okay, so as you age, you're going to have to up that number, because I think facilities are like an easy $8,000 a piece if you end up in one. And then also, if something does happen. When I first started a couple of decades ago in this business, reading credit reports, medical collections was the number one thing on their credit report. Am I wrong, Becky? Is that what you see mostly?
Absolutely. That's 1000% correct. And some of it's outrageous amounts of money that like nobody could pay that back just on whatever it is that they're making monthly. And so, yeah.
Especially since you're only living on 1/3 of your income to begin with. An emergency happens and you don't have insurance. What are you going to do to pay for it?
Even if you do have insurance, sometimes the copays are outrageous.
That's true.
So, you still have to figure that out. So anyway,
Yeah.
yeah.
So yeah, real estate goes a long way. So some people might not have the passion for real estate like I do. It brings out the mad scientist in me, all the creative things that we get to do with real estate. But it's a vehicle to get you to your passion, to your long-term care, to take care of you in your elder years. Or what if something happened now? Maybe you're 20 years old, and my youngest retiree was 28 years old, right? Like he completely changed his life because of real estate.
Wow.
um, and now he has, you know, property across the nation and the funds to have a whole new life. And so if something happened today at, 28 years old, he has the funds to protect himself, right? And the funds not only is just meaning cash, it means you had the cash to pay for big insurance, right? Like umbrellas for your properties, and protection in your health, and life insurance, and all of those things are being provided because of real estate. So I'm not just speaking it from my point of view, my clients' point of views, as well as, showing you how they've changed their life. That, like Mary said, just one day, everything changed. One day, everything changed. And if she didn't have real estate um, in her back pocket to lean on, who knows what her health would have been like today. Right. So I leave you with that at this juncture. If you want to get to know Mary a little bit more, I invite you to, Mary, should they go to Healings in Motion Facebook page? Where would you like them to go to learn more about you?
You can go to our website at healingsinmotion.org.
Healingsinmotion.org. And where she's really looking to educate people on is caregivers for graying America, educating the millennials, and really making a difference. I mean, she's already made multiple ripples in this world, and she's now starting another ripple to make a difference in the graying America. I applaud you big time for that, Mary.
Well, thank you. And with our Caregivers for a Graying America, we have a full curriculum for caregivers to actually be prepared and know what resources are available, and simple things that can help you show your love for your loved one. It's not for the professional medical caregiver, it's for primarily family caregivers, non-medical people who want to be better at making sure that they care for their loved ones. Yeah, and it's a certified program.
Oh, that's beautiful. To get certified in it is just beautiful. And then because that becomes your ripple in the world. You're not just educating the one person and the one person deals with their family. Someone can become certified and help multiple families, right?
And
Is that
take
what
their
I'm hearing?
real estate and plant it so that, you know, it's not confiscated,
Yes.
you know, because as we get older and we do need medical care, the first thing that's taken is, do you own any property? And you have to divest that in order to get certain kinds of care in the nursing homes and so on. So
Exactly.
the children, the millennials, they need to know what to do with it. And that's why you queens, have to partner with me. So we work together to get
Absolutely.
this done.
Absolutely. I'm so excited to move forward with you. And, just for an example, the house that I'm in right now, my husband, prior to me meeting him, and he kicks himself in the butt now because he wished he knew me years ago. He inherited this house and he had to pay inheritance tax on this in order to keep it. And it wiped out his whole bank account. But it was in an emotional need for him. It was his grandma's house, and he practically lived here. He called it Camp Grandma, and it was something he wanted to keep. And I've heard a few other stories where children, 40s, 50s, are not able to do that because they don't have the funds available to keep the house of their grandparents, their children, the parents' house that they grew up in. And it's an emotional thing to be able to keep it. And so here's where Mary comes into play: is that she has um, the resources to help you keep your properties, right? Where it's protected against going to probate, against the state making you have to do certain things in order to survive, right? So there's a whole other way that things can go that is not in our system. You have to reach out and find this information, and this is what Mary is providing, is a certification, so you have that education to know how to keep the property, how to not let the state take, the creditors take. It goes many levels. And
prevent sibling rivalry,
yes,
Joanne.
that's the big one. That's the big one, actually. If you guys ever went to probate court, OMG, right? They come out of the woodworks and they got their dukes up ready to go. So probate is not a fun thing. I know I spoke with my father, just in closing here real quick. I spoke with my father and I said, hey, did you get a trust? Do you have things set up that, and so here was his answer. And everybody type in the comments and let me know what your answers have been if you've spoken to your parents about this. I asked him if he had everything set up to where we didn't have to worry about it, in a trust. The state's it's not going to go to probate. And he goes, I don't need a trust. It's a first come, first serve. So I don't owe anything. You guys just come get the cars and run. And I went, what? That's not an answer. So anyways, just to tell you the level of education that most seniors have. My dad's 73 right now. And, he did not grow up knowing any of this stuff. So who's going to educate him but his children? Right. And that's what Mary's accomplishing. And I love what you're doing, Mary. I'm so super excited to be a part of your world in the certifying primary stroke center. Caregivers for Graying America is pretty powerful. And I stress that everyone go check this out because nobody's void of this. Thank you, Mary.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Becky, anything you wanted to add to that?
No, man, that was so powerful. I can't wait to dive into some of this. I'm so glad that you had her on here today so that we can really, because this is part of everything that we talk about residual income and wealth building principles and having your stuff together and just making a better plan. And this just goes right with it. So I applaud you, Miss Mary, for doing what you're doing.
Is it ever too late to start working with you and
oh gosh,
getting
my
things
God, no.
together?
no, because anybody can buy real estate, anybody can look for deals. And so absolutely, it's never too late. And actually that anytime's the perfect time to start building wealth, period.
So
It's
one of my eldest students is 76 years old and she's making a killing. So you're never too late to start investing in real estate, and you're never too young, other than being 18 and older, to invest in real estate. So yeah, absolutely. Good point, Mary.
all right.
Thank you for joining us on Trinity Podcast.
Thank you.
Mwah!